Hey everybody, it is Kendall Anise, your fave life coach, your remix coach, and welcome to Remixing Relationships. We're over here promoting healthy relationships and doing things differently. It's all about remixing love, life, and lessons. So get your construction boots because we are going to be stepping on toes, and get your swim caps because we are going to be diving deep. Let's get into it. Remixing Relationships starts now. Hey everybody, I'm Kendall Anise, your fave life coach, the remix coach. Life coach Kendall Anise. All right. So this is an exciting time. I hope you can see me. You see a different background. I am for the month of July. I'm doing remixing relationships in the afternoons. I'm going to switch it up a bit because I know a lot of people are home during the summer, or they have flexibility in some cases. So typically the show comes on Monday nights at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you're following me on YouTube, if you're not following me on YouTube, please do so now and spread this out, because this is going to be an amazing conversation. I have two amazing people with me. If you're new to me, a little bit about me: I'm a certified life coach of 25 years. I had a podcast called Shine with Kendall Anise, ran 13 seasons. In the last season of that podcast, I decided to focus on relationships. As a life coach, as a woman myself, different things happening in our community, especially with relationships, and how dysfunctional they were and how unhealthy they were without happening. And I just wanted to bring some coaching, to bring some ministry, to bring guests. When we are honest and open about things happening in relationships and sharing some of our stories, it allows people to be able to do the same. So check back the other episodes. I be teaching, I be coaching and sharing, as well as allowing other people to come on. So this is where we take the look at the good, the bad, the lessons, and all the love, and remix all of it for healing, growth, and real transformation. Because I'm a firm believer, there are not bad things that happen. Yeah, there are bad things that happen in relationships. We know that there's abuse of all kind, and we can go on and on and on. But if you can learn something from that, whether you're healthy in the relationship and you're bringing chaos and drama and just unhealed, so you bring unhealedness into the relationship unknowingly, and then it causes for issues and problems. And if the God is not in it, then, or God didn't put you in it, or God said use your discernment, because I've been there where I did not use my discernment, because my discernment is super, super strong, and a lot of people ignore that and enter relationships for whatever reason, right? And it's interesting when it comes to ministry, and some people like, I'm a minister, I'm a pastor, I'm this, and you think, oh, okay, this is how it's going to be. But you really have to understand that people are human, and everybody is just trying to figure out. I see you all in the comments. Welcome. Hey, Nicole, thank you so much. Welcome to Remixing Relationships. So thank you. If you are a return visitor and you want to be, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. If this is your first, who I am, again, dance between marriage, ministry, and mentorship. These are three powerful forces that can build or break relationships depending on how they're see who we have here. Let me make sure this banner is on here so you all can see that. But who we have here is Dr. and Lady Lovett. I want to make sure his name is Jamian, and to Remixing Relationships. I want to, because sometimes allow background beforehand. I'm not sure what happened. Okay. A little bit of background. Florida, right? West Palm Beach, Florida. So from Friendship Missionary Baptist Church of West Palm Beach, Florida. They also have a YouTube channel and an amazing marriage ministry series called Love at the Lovetts Table. They provide supportive space for married singles. So they're working in the same vein, and I love that about them. So we're going to get to know this a little bit better as we welcome our guests, the Lovetts, to Remixing Relationships.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
You are welcome. It is my pleasure. Thank you so much for being here this time coming. Can you hear me?
It's a bad delay.
Yeah.
We're trying to make sure that we're listening closely.
Can you hear me?
We can.
We can hear you now.
It's delayed though.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can. It's a little bit of a delay, but we can hear you. No.
This is an awkward moment.
I'm hearing that it was a delay. Okay.
Yes.
But you guys can hear
It's
me
still
though,
a little
right?
bit. It's still a little bit of a delay. We can hear you, but it's delayed.
All right. So this is going to be good already because the Wi-Fi is strong. So something is still, I don't know, I'm looking at guys are individually as well as a married couple. Before we even get into what you do in your ministry,
I'm sorry. You cut off at
hear
the
me?
end. Yeah, you cut off at the end. You said before we get into the ministry, that's all we heard.
I'm going to come out and come back in.
We're still live.
As well.
Hello. I'm not sure what's happening. Hello. Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay, yeah, I came out. I said this was gonna be a good show. The adversary, like, y'all not gonna have this conversation because I'm like, what is going on? Because the Wi-Fi is strong. That's why I'm like, what is going on? But I'm glad. Well, hey, everybody, sorry for that. You know, we don't have no control over that. But I want you guys individually tell me who you are. Tell me who you were before you were even married and who you are together. And we don't even want to get into ministry just yet. As people, who are you?
You want me to go?
You go first. Go ahead.
I wasn't a church boy, that's for sure. I grew up in the church, but the church wasn't in me. Athlete, love of sports, before marriage, love of women. I could say curious about street things.
That's put nicely. So it's my go now. Okay. So
it's about you said that's put nicely.
That was put very, very gently. I would say before marriage, and that's a strange thing to ask me because I'm married. We got together very early. I met him when I was in high school. So to say before marriage and before kids has been something that I have had to now ask myself, who was I before my husband and my children? So being a young girl, church girl, going to church, being a young, obedient young girl, and being very naive to the world and meeting the bad boy of the world, I think would describe me.
But that is so common. What do you think the attraction is? Because you often see that. What do you think that attraction was for you? And for many people, because a lot of people have this story.
I mean, she was a good looking
woman.
A lot of women. Or she was a good looking she was a good looking teen at the time. Still, I'm sorry. She said, what was the attraction? So I'm answering in the past tense. Good looking woman, very attractive to me. And so at the time, not knowing background or anything, I was just like, I want it. I want that.
And I think for me, it was what you have not been exposed to.
Yes.
You gravitate to, and being someone who had been sheltered. I joke with my sister a lot of times we weren't allowed off the porch, so to speak. So what you have not been exposed to, sometimes you want to gravitate to, and you find interesting. So you want to be exposed to that type of lifestyle. You want to be exposed to the bad boy, or so to speak. So you get curious. So you want to get off that porch and experience life.
You want to get off that porch. Because you want to find somebody that you can color coordinate with. I see y'all with your earth tones.
Right.
I peep that. But no, and it is, especially if you are told, don't do this, don't do that. You're not supposed to do this, if you're questioned and you're told, that's going to naturally make you curious, like, why do they want to keep me away from this, or why do they want to keep me on the porch? And what parents don't understand, that like it draws you closer to where they may not want you to be. Was there any interpretation why of when you knew that he was, what did he say, experiencing it? How did he put it, lady? Lovett. He said experiment. What did you say it was called?
What street curiosity? Street curiosity.
Yeah. He was like a little right. And him being curious of the streets. Were you fascinated with her, that she was a good girl?
Yeah, absolutely. A fascination. Also a challenge at the time, because she wasn't a yes girl, if you know what I mean. It wasn't just easy just to get to her and to get to her heart.
Yeah.
So she made me work for it. So I think I like the challenge as well.
Yes. And tell the brothers out there, tell some of the sisters and the brothers, because I think people don't really understand that a man does want a challenge. Like the stuff that you could just touch, this right there, open and everything. Nobody's doing that. You want to go what behind the glass where the value is, not everything hanging out, not everything being available for you, or the person just willing to just give you everything. Talk about how a man, wants to kind of work for it and the value in that.
If he wants something that's lasting, he wouldn't mind the challenge or the work. I mean, something that you should always carry with you is that luxury never goes on sale. I'm one now that I understand you can't always sample the goods before you make the purchase. And so making the purchase, understanding that when you take this home, it already carries godly value. It carries value. Hence, that doesn't mean that everything that's luxurious is going to be cheap. You have to work for it. There's a challenge in obtaining it. It's a challenge in keeping it. But it's well worth it. It's a peace of mind. It's security. It's the queen of the castle. When you start to think ahead and these things, then it makes the challenge well worth it.
Yes. And I think that's the key right there. And like you said, luxury don't go on sale. And you're right about that. It sure doesn't, because it still holds its value. And that's what people don't understand. And we're in a time now where, people are doing things for likes and for clicks, and everybody wants to be noticed. Everybody wants to be valued, but they're not knowing, that they already came here with value. God already made them the way with a lot of value. And it's the world that often kind of diminishes the value based on you being different or you being set apart and not like everybody else. I'll ask you, Lady Lovett, did you feel that you had the value, as your mom was saying, your parents, hey, do this, do that, don't do this, but did you feel like it was because of protection, or did you feel the value of who you were as a young girl at an early age?
I did. And I think it was because early on, I had my own personal relationship with Christ. So knowing that whoever, and I don't want to sound too into myself, but as a young girl, I knew what I had inside of me, and that nobody could get this without getting this. and what I mean by that is you had to earn this, and you couldn't just walk up to me with any lame game and with any old talk and just gain my trust or gain my love, but you had to work for it. And you had to talk the talk, and you had to actually walk what you were telling me. So I knew the value of who I was and what I carried at a very early age. So you just weren't just going to just come off the street and just sample everything and get what you came for. I don't care how curious I was. And I was very fearful of just giving something away that was so precious to me. That was precious to Christ. I knew who I was, and I knew what he placed inside of me, and I wasn't just going to give it away.
I love that. And you literally somebody who came off the street, the one that was curious about the street.
Yeah. But I knew I knew the
comment here by Laura. No, go ahead.
And I knew the value of, I knew the potential of the person of who he was. And I think that's why he softened me up a lot, because I saw the value of who he was and what was in him. And that's why he was able to, knock up, tilt that crown a little bit and get and win me over, because I saw the potential. I saw the value. I saw what was in him. I knew that God had a call on his life. I knew that he was going to be my husband. I knew, my mom could say I was mesmerized by him, but I saw something deeper.
You were?
I still am.
Oh.
That's what I'm like. Hold up. We're going to pause for the memorization. The mesmerization.
Yes.
We're going to pause for that because you should have saw his face when you were looking straight ahead, and he first time that you heard that. Is this about you that had her, that other than you being different, what do you think had her mesmerized as a young girl?
I mean, again, I was a college I was an athlete. I was a high school athlete, college athlete. I wasn't slow. You know, I had a little bit of brains. I still do. You know, I wasn't a bad looking dude. You know, and again, I was maybe I was a little cocky then. But
very.
But
Yeah.
I knew once we got together, it was a good thing. It was a good thing. As I started to grow in my relationship, it went from being a good thing to a God thing. I know it was destiny.
As you started to grow.
Oh, you didn't hear me. No, I was saying
no.
I was saying to you, I said that as I started to grow, yes, I knew it was a good thing, but as I grew mentally, as I grew spiritually, emotionally, I knew it was not just a good thing, it was a God thing. And everything good ain't always God.
Yes.
But I knew that it was a God thing.
So let me ask you. So Gloria put a question here, and I'm going to just pause this here, but I want to ask you as I have this up. Tell the people how long you've been married. And Gloria says, welcome to the show. Thank you so much. I hope you subscribe, like, and you guys comments and questions if you have for our guests. So Pastor Jay and Lady Lovett are the poster for a beautiful marriage, an example of working on your relationship. And I think that's so key. So tell the people how long you have been married, and tell us what she meant by that comment when she says working on your marriage, because I think people don't understand the fullness of that. They may see you're a beautiful looking couple, both of you. You can tell that you like each other. You know, with my discernment and my education and my background, I look at couples and be like, they don't like each other. I just did a post like they don't like each other, and I can see it, and I'll be like, they think they fooling somebody, but these people don't like each other. But I can tell that you guys do. So let's talk about what that means to work on your marriage, and let them know how long you've been together and how long you've been working on your marriage. Because
sure.
Yeah. So we've been married for 21 years. We've been together for 26 years. And working on our marriage is being intentional about our marriage. And it's very important to us. Somebody just told us, it's funny that you said that about liking each other, because someone told us we were at a Juneteenth event last weekend, and someone said to me, it's crazy that, they said to me, he really likes you, and I can tell that he's not only is he married to you, but you're his friend as well, because he really leans in to have conversation with you and talk to you and confide in you, and I can tell that he really likes you. And I said, well, I like him too. So and we're just really intentional about our relationship. We're intentional about spending time with one another. We genuinely like each other. I genuinely like having conversation with him. I genuinely like talking to him. And that's a key thing for working on your marriage and picking the person that you want to be married to. A lot of times we go off of looks, we go off of certain social statuses and things like that. But when you get to 10 years, 15 years, are you still able to sit down and have a conversation with that person? Do you still really like that person for the longevity? And I think we continually just really are intentional about spending time with each other, loving on each other, and really having conversations with each other. We like each other. You still like me?
I love you and like you.
Yes, I could definitely. I can tell, I can definitely tell. And as you said, I didn't even know the person said it to you, on Juneteenth, but you can tell. And that's what I'm trying to say, because people think that they're fooling people, but they're not fooling God. They're not fooling us. The only people that they're fooling is themselves when it comes to that. And that's what I really want people to see and understand, like through this podcast, is about teaching and really showing different signs. Because like you said, Pastor, if every good thing is not a God thing. And sometimes if we're doing the choosing and we leave God all the time, if we're doing the choosing and leaving God out of the equation, nothing good is going to come from that. So when I say this sentence, what does this mean to you? Love isn't just a feeling, it's a daily decision.
I like that, because just as you said that, it just made me go back to something. It made me say or think, if your love can't survive arguments, insecurities, disappointments, um, disagreements, if it can't survive that, then what I've come to understand is you don't have love. You have good manners posing as love. And a lot of people have good manners posing as love rather than a real love. Love, again, going back to the Bible, Corinthians, it withstands all. And unconditional love is a whole nother love. I mean, a lot of people have an affectionate love, a friendship love, a sexual love, but an unconditional love sees beyond my faults, sees beyond my failures, and it's gonna lift me no matter how low I go. So when you say that word love, I know that a lot of people lust, but not necessarily love.
Yes, that's good. And I think people get caught up on that feeling. And I think that's why a lot of relationships or marriages don't work, because they're chasing that feeling when they first got together, that euphoric, and they're chasing that. And if it's not that way 100%, they're like, oh, this ain't my person. I don't want to be with this person. But that is something that you create in your marriage. Would you agree?
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
100%. And it has to be intentional. You have to continue to work on it.
Yeah. So what does that look like in your marriage, to continuously work on it? Like what do you do that you can help, the people that are watching understand, like, what do you do? What does that look like?
Go ahead.
Well, one thing that we do, because we are super busy, and with our new ministry that we just took on, we are going into our third year. We increase, like, our schedule is crazy, and to carve out time for just us to continue that intentionality of being with each other and doing things, we realized that we were going, and we weren't really spending that intentional time with one another. We became business partners, so to speak. We're just working and working and working, but we're not really spending that time with each other, making sure that we're still cultivating our relationship, making sure that we're still Jamie and Kia at the end of the day. We're not Pastor Lovett, Lady Lovett. We're not mom and dad. But at the end of the day, when all of this goes away, that's Jamie, I'm Kia, this is my husband, and we have to make sure that that still sticks. So what we decided to do is have marriage meetings. Once a week, we put everything aside. In the beginning of it, we make sure that we lay out, hey, this is business. This is what we need to do for our business. This is what we need to do for church. This is what we need to do for kids. Now, what are we doing for ourselves? Are you missing anything? Am I missing anything? Is there anything that we need to do for each other? And we lay that out all in the beginning of our dates or marriage meetings. And then the rest of it is a date. And we do that intentionally to make sure that we're checking in with each other, that we are making sure that we are doing good as a couple, that we are still pouring into each other, that we're still making sure that our marriage is going the way that it should be. And it has made a world of a difference when we were just doing work, and just being business partners, we were we weren't getting along. We were like, no, this ain't working.
Yeah.
Because we need each other at the end of the day. When this goes away, we're still going to be married. So we realized that we needed a pause. We needed to figure out something. So that's what we do.
But that's so honest and so real. And thank you for sharing that, because I think it's important to understand. I did an episode on here called Prayer, Partnership, and what was it? Prayer, Partnership, and can't think of what Purpose. And I did an episode and I talked about, I think on that one, and so many times I talk about these type of things, but what equally yoked means. So let's talk about the importance of being equally yoked in faith, goals, and value, because I think sometimes people get it twisted. If you're a married couple who is in ministry, then everything is like y'all don't have fun, y'all don't talk about goals, and y'all don't have, certain things. I think so. Let's first talk about what the importance is of being equally yoked. Because I don't know why people think Christians are like robotic or monolithic, or like it's the craziest thing. You may not watch a comedy or go to a comedy show or just all kind of things that people have. So we're going to talk about the misconceptions, but let's talk about what the importance of being equally yoked in your faith, your goals, and your values. And then somebody has a question here. So if you put a question in the chat, thank you so much. We're going to get to your questions towards the end of the show, so you can get your questions ready so the Lovetts can answer those. So let's talk about the importance of being equally yoked, and why it's important to be equally yoked in your faith, your goals, values, etc.
It is extremely important to be equally yoked. Extremely. One thing I've come to understand is that when the Bible says that a man, when he finds a wife, he finds a good thing, the B clause to that text says, and he obtains favor from the Lord. What we need to understand as men is that when you find the right one, not just one, when you find the right one, she upgrades you. Not only does she upgrade you, there are doors that wouldn't have opened before that when you get with her, they begin to open on your behalf as a man, as a couple. So when it is that you talk about being equally yoked in relationships, sometimes it's going to feel like a pull or a push. However, we got to make sure that we arrive there at the same time, not me behind you, not you in front of me, but at the same time, because when there is an unequal yoke, it'll feel more like a burden than a blessing.
Yeah.
And when you talk about talk about faith,
wait, you can't. You just gotta y'all gotta sit on. You gotta wait a minute. They gotta sit on that, because I want people to understand, because that's why so many people are in unhealthy relationships. Because if you've seen an unhealthy relationship that you didn't know it was an unhealthy relationship, whether it was your parents, your aunties, friends that you know, your own self, and you operate in dysfunction and unhealthiness, just not even knowing, right? And a lot of people just don't even know. But when you say that it's more a burden than a blessing, that is a key indicator that something is off. If you crying and arguing more than you laughing and having a good time, something is off. If y'all ain't praying together, you ain't never heard that man say a prayer, or that woman to say, I don't know, but other than God is great, God is good, let us thank us for our food. And then you ain't never heard nothing. If every other prayer sound the same, they sit, God is great, God is good, you are healed, whatever it is. and it's no disrespect, because a prayer is just simply a conversation with God. Thank you is an entire prayer, right? So it's not about what it is, but somebody got to be doing something. If you don't hear nobody pray nothing, then something is not right. So let's talk more about, it's more a burden than a blessing, because you about to set somebody free today in that relationship. They leaving that relationship right now. They on the phone texting. We got to talk.
I mean, again, a lot of times we engage with toxic relationships and toxic people. And a lot of times when you're in it, and it's very toxic. A lot of times when you're in the middle of the fire, you don't know that it's hot until it's over.
Right.
However, when something is a burden, it weighs you down. It plays with your sleep. You're constantly tired. You're unhappy. You can't smile at anything. You guys can't find a common ground to say, "Hey, we can go do this." It drags you. It brings you down. It makes you say, "You know what? Every day you're questioning whether you want to be here," rather than saying, "Man, you know what? Thank you, God, for this beauty that you sent in my life. Thank you for the things that you're doing for me. I can't wait to get home, or I can't wait to get on the phone during the middle of the day and talk to my wife on the phone." I think she posted something on the story the other day. We had been on the phone for 2.5 hours in the middle of the day because I love
That's
talking to
right.
her. It's a blessing to me when we can come together and discuss certain things. Now, a lot of times we got to make sure that we find the balance, because sometimes we start talking about business and ministry so much that it's not until one of us say, all right, we're drifting a little too far. When you have something like that in your life, it's a blessing. When you have somebody in your life who compliments you, right? And when I say compliment, she makes me better. She uh shows me things
Yeah.
that I would have never thought of or looked at in a different angle or a different perspective. Her perspective is a lot of times different from mine, but it doesn't mean that I can't come on a common ground and agree and say, "Oh, I see it that way." Okay. Or her helping me say, "You know what? You don't know. Women think like this." Because I might be a little naive on something. That's a blessing. It's a blessing. And
Yeah.
it's joyous. It brings joy to your life at all times, rather than dragging you
Yes.
down and saying, "You know what, I'm tired of this. I don't want to go to that. Do I have to?" You don't need the burden in your life. And if it's a burden, it's definitely not the blessing.
Exactly. If it's a burden, it's definitely not a blessing. I love that. So how ministry, let's talk about ministry, because you said something about like sometimes you have to turn around and say, okay, we just the couple today. It's not about the ministry. Um, how do you balance? And then someone had a question similar to that, but how do you balance that? So you're just talking to Shamika and you're not talking to Lady Lovett.
Um, at first, it was difficult because we took on a new venture here and took on a new ministry, going on our third year. In the first 2 years, first 2.5 years, when I say we did a lot of work to try to bring the ministry to light and to try to restore it to its original value, if not better. So we were digging in, just constantly doing ministry. But at the same time, when you have a connection with your spouse or your significant other, that there's a rift. And when it becomes a rift where all you're doing is talking business, all you're doing is you're talking ministry, something's off. That's not balance. And so there had to come a time, and it took more than a year for us to realize it. It took almost 2 years for us to realize we're putting too much emphasis on ministry rather than marriage. And I had to go back to understand that our first ministry is marriage, our marriage. And so when we found out that we weren't putting that first, we had to make a shift and say, okay, this is about Kia, this is about Jamian, rather than, friendship or the Solomon Leadership Program or going down to be the city official. This is when we actually had to say, you know what, we've drifted a little too far. We need to reel it back in and say, this is us. It's us before them. It's us before that. And that's how I do.
But also, I think with being equally yoked, if you find the correct partner in marriage, your partner will also know what is important to you. So when you have the right partner, because I understood building stages, I understood when you're building in ministry that it's going to take time. So sometimes you have to have that sacrifice and knowing that, okay, right now it's not all about, we have to put some things to the back burner. We can't go date night every Friday night right now because we're in building stages. So sometimes when you have the right partner and you're connected to the right person, they understand that we're in the building stages. It's not that he's neglecting me. It's not that he's forgetting about our marriage. It's not that he doesn't have me on his mind, but right now we're in the building stages. So you have to have the right partner and someone that you are partnering with that understands what you are doing in life, that can be praying with you, that can be supporting you. And when you don't have that right partner, someone who's selfish, someone who's self-centered, that always thinks that things are about them, they won't be able to support you in your goals and your mission and what you're doing in life. And I've had to do that a couple of times in our marriage. When he went back to school to get his doctorate, hey, I support you. I want you to be better. I want you to do better. So you have to find the right partner.
Mm-hmm. It's so powerful what you said, because I think it's so important. And that's why when I talked in one of the episodes, I did purpose partnership. That was the episode. So guys, definitely check that one out. It goes more into that. But I think I know that's why communication is important, because if you don't have that conversation and say, hey, listen, I don't want you to feel neglected. I don't want you to feel shunned to the side. So let me tell you, we're about to build. This is what we're going to happen. Like I say, evenly yoked with the goals. Oh, this is what we're striving for. And then that way, nobody feels neglected because you had the conversation. And oftentimes people don't have the conversation. They want you to just use Blue's Clues and figure it out. Then, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, then you have an argument about it. And then they're like, well, you knew I was doing this, but we didn't know what was going to look like.
Right.
So it sounds like you had the conversation. Hey, listen, that's so important. It's so key. So I hope you guys are taking notes, because you got to have the conversation. And sometimes it's a hard conversation. And then you have to really set the tone. What is this going to look like? Sometimes it might look like you're neglected. Sometimes it might look like I'm ignoring you. Sometimes, but this is not what it is. This is the goal. And I think any man or woman can handle that. I think it's when people don't have the conversation about it. Would you agree with that?
100%.
Absolutely.
There has to be some kind of dialogue. And two things to understand is that your spouse is not a mind reader at all. So when you go back to talking about communication is definitely key. You have to be able to speak up on what it is that may be bothering you. And if you don't, you can't expect your spouse or your partner to read your mind. It just doesn't happen.
Right. But Kendall, also on that subject as well, sometimes the ship is moving, and sometimes you got to get on board as the partner. And a lot of times his mind, I know him enough. I've been with him. You have to know your partner. And I've been with him long enough to know when I got to jump and get on board. He don't have time to sit and be like, honey, this is what we're going to do today. And this is how this is going to go today. And I need you. He doesn't have time to sit and explain to me every detail, because we have to get moving. So I have to be able to, again, because we are connected. He uses this analogy about being fused, not being becoming one, but being fused. Because we are fused, I know him. So I know when he's getting ready to move, how things are getting ready to go. And I just got to jump on board. Like, okay, I'm supporting you. How can I help? What can I do? So sometimes when you're with someone, you got to be ready to get on board. And sometimes you got to put your feelings to the side. I know there's a greater purpose behind this. I know that there's something great that is going to come behind his movement. A lot of times I'm aggravated and agitated, and I put those feelings to the side so that the ship can move. So sometimes we have to, us as women, sometimes we got to put our emotions and our feelings aside. And I'm working on that. Because sometimes they come out.
But you know what? Hey. I love what you said. But that's real, though. That is real, and I love that that you're able to smile about it and talk about it and be real, because that's a real thing. And sometimes with men, it's tunnel vision, and they forget. You'd be like, I'm over here. And they're like on the grind, and your emotions can get caught up in that. That's why it's so important to be able to have free conversations with your person. I think it's so important to do that, and to be able to say 20, plus years later, I'm still working on that. You don't know how many people you freed with that, because I don't know why people think it's just, magic or something, like it's just supposed to snap because you've been together this long. People evolve and people change. And this brings me to another remix tip. Purpose-driven relationships can outlast pleasure-based ones. And we talked a little bit about that, and you guys talked about that. So I want to talk about, it's so much, y'all. We're going to have a part 2 with the Lovetts. I hope y'all like that. We're going to have a part 2 because there's so much that I want to dive into, and we can only do so much in an hour. But I want to talk about the mentorship piece in relationships. Why is mentorship important in marriage? Why does it matter? And I want to talk about receiving. I know you mentor outside of your marriage, so we're going to talk about that with other married couples, with what you're doing with your podcast. But why is mentorship even important within your marriage with each other? And why is it important to spread the love at your table outside of your marriage to other couples or singles?
Absolutely. Why is it important? And this is important for singles and married. I tell on him. So he has, we have a couple that mentors us. We call them our spiritual parents. And when I need to tell on him, I tell on him. And it is important for you to have people that you can go to for guidance and for spiritual counseling, and because we don't always get it right. As much as we mentor others, we don't always have the answers. And sometimes we need someone to come in and say, hey, that's and right. my spirit, she will get me together quick. She does not care. She don't care nothing about no title. She don't care about who I am. She will get me together quick. And the same for him. And I can go to, my spiritual father and say, Dad, your son is acting up. And he will get him together quick.
She snatched those edges.
Yes. So it is so important to have a
sometimes you gotta do, but that's real.
Yes. But it's so important. And I don't understand this in Christian marriages, and people in church. I think we are afraid sometimes to involve people in our business as Black people. What happens in our house stays in our house. And I think we have done that so long that we are afraid to involve other people. And when I'm going through something, what we're going to deal with right here in this house. And a lot of times you need a third party to come in and say, hey, look at this in another way. Look at this from another perspective. And a lot of times that's all we do. We get it from another perspective, because even after 26 years of being together, we need somebody else to come in and say, hey, look at this a different way. And I don't understand why some people when we're 80 and we're gonna need somebody to come in and say, hey, look at this differently. So that's what I urge people to do. Look at marriage mentorship in a different way. Sometimes what happens in your house, sometimes you just need a third, but somebody else to come in and say, hey, look at this a different way.
And as far as mentorship is concerned, in any aspect of life, whether it's your marriage, whether it's ministry, whether it's in the professional arena, you always want somebody who has achieved something that you desire to achieve.
Yes.
You always want somebody who's been there. I do say that some of our people, Black people, we have to get over ourselves. For a long time, though, even for us, people would not think that we were as genuine because we were young. And, people get caught up in the social media stuff. But then they come to find out we're a little bit more authentic than what you see on Facebook and Instagram and all that other good stuff. But you always need someone who has been there. And if you're striving to get to that place, they know, the turns, the lefts, the rights, the bumps, the rocks, the climate, the temperature. They know it. And so why not ask, how do I go about this? So you need that.
Yes. It's so important. But it's about that bias and honest, right? Not just like, let me get his friend or let me get her friend. It's not about that, because that can get messy, where people like, oh, what is it? And then once you solve your issue, then somebody's looking at her sideways, looking at you sideways. So I just want to just enforce that as somebody who is biased, somebody who has been there, somebody who loves both of you, someone who will be honest with both of you, and someone who is not expecting you to be perfect, and someone who keeps it confidential, right? Because I think so many people think, oh, mentorship, I'm going to this person, they're going to this person, and then they come back, well, he said you should do this, or she said, and that causes division in your relationship and your friendships. So I just want to really stress that they're not just going to any old body, right?
Right.
But let me say this though, because I think a lot of people, and it's good to have different mentors in different areas, but you have to be there. I think you mentioned being discerning at the top of the show. If you don't discern though, which most of us don't, because some of us become naive, if you entertain too many voices though, it can result in food poisoning. And so you have to be careful from what table you eat from, and discern who's speaking into your life, because whoever has your ear will have your heart.
Come on, teach, pastor. It's the truth. It's the truth. Y'all talking so good, and I think it's so very important, like what you're saying, and it's very digestible, right? And that's why it's important for me to do this and change the narrative when you have pastors on, or to talk to people of faith, because I want people to understand these are real relationships, right? This is a real marriage, right? God is all up in it. So you have the hierarchy of God and knowing what to do, and who to, even if you don't know what to do, who to call, right? But there's still a difference in, like, where Lady Lovett, you're saying, I'm still working on that. I'm still trying to figure that out. You saying, hey, listen, both of you are understanding the human side of it. And it sounds crazy for me to even say, but there are people out there who think that you're just like, I'm a life coach. So I've been a life coach for 25 years. I'm supposed to know everything, get everything right, cross all the T's, dot all the I's. And if I don't, then you got people be like, you're a life coach, aren't you? But I'm a human being. I'm not perfect. But it's the same with you all. You're in ministry. You're in marriage ministry. You have a church that you're supposed to be flawless and perfect. And we have to stop doing that to our people, because it's hurting us in a way where some people can't even rebound, right? So I think we got to understand that we are people. We're all trying to figure it out, ministry or otherwise. And we have to give people grace enough to really grow into who they're supposed to be in those seasons. Would you agree? Because you're not the same in each season.
No, absolutely.
No, you definitely, seasons change, and so do we. She often tells the story that she's not the same at her age now as she was in her teens and 20s. The things that I used to get that used to make her happy, they don't make her. She's not elated for those things anymore. And so I had to learn that, though, that as we grow and we mature, different things begin to change. And so, no, as seasons change, we should as well. Look, you can't ascend a mountain and not have the proper attire on.
Yeah.
You go up a mountain, it's going to get a little colder. And if you only have on a t-shirt, eventually you may just get hypothermia or something of that nature.
That part. All right, so we're definitely having a part 2 with the Lovetts, because there's so many so many things I want to talk to them about. So definitely, like Alexa said, hit the like button. If you want to sew into this podcast, you can. I do this for the community. You can even give as little as 99 cents if you want. If you're watching on YouTube, I always get it mixed up. You hit the heart button and it says thanks on it, whether you're watching it live or the playback. You can do 99 cents, $1.99 if you want to join the community, you can do that also, because everything on this channel is about elevation, education, and entertainment, and it's all for the glory of God. I've been doing this thing for 20 something years, and I'm not going to do anything that's not going to have God in it, or that you're not going to hear his name. So if that offends you, then you can keep your like, you can keep your subscription, but if you are on board with that, definitely, you know what I'm saying? I just keep it real, I laughing at me the whole time, lady.
It's the truth.
But seriously. So I have a question as we it's true. You know what I mean? If you're going to be like, oh, that's why I have an Instagram. My regular Instagram is Kendellanice, my name. And I have an Instagram, Talk That God Talk. So if you worry about, oh, she doing is talking that God talk, then this might not be the place for you, and that's okay, because everybody's not assigned to us, right? Right, pastors?
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
All right. So my next to last question as we end, what was your biggest remix moment in your relationship as a couple?
Remix moment.
Well, you had to do it differently. Like, this ain't working.
Oh, well, we've had a couple of remix moments, but most recently, I would say just when we had to do a timeout, and that has been recently with our just him becoming the pastor of Friendship. We were not expecting the influx of everything that came with him taking on the leadership at Friendship, and we went headstrong into Friendship, working, and we had to do a timeout. I'm not your secretary. I had to have a come to Jesus meeting with him. I'm not your secretary. I am not your assistant pastor. I married you because I wanted a husband. So you either become my husband, or we gonna do some changes real quick, like. And he wanted a wife. So that's when we started doing. We had to remix. Remix.
I love that.
And I became again.
Look, he know exactly what you're talking about.
I got a new name for it. And I became Shakira Lovett again.
You remixed that ring too. Look at you. I love it. All right. So my final question before you tell the people how they can connect with you on social media and otherwise. I love y'all. I can't wait to have y'all back for part 2. But the last question I like to ask, because I think it's so important, and even if you guys watching, ask this question to yourself, because I talk to so many people and they have no idea, and that's okay. I just want to get the juices flowing. But what brings you joy? Like that joy that you have. What brings you to joy? Lady, please go first, and then we'll end with Pastor.
What brings me the most joy is absolutely my family. I love my children. I love my husband. That brings me absolute joy. When I see them happy, when I see them thriving in life, it brings me the absolute most joy. When I see my church family thriving, we got a text message before we got on today. I'm not going to tell her business, but it just made my heart smile. When I see them thriving in life, when I see my children thriving, my husband thriving, it just does something so amazingly beautiful to my heart. So that's my joy.
And I would say mine is very similar. Likewise,
I love
it's
that.
Family first. My children, when they're excelling at life and doing great things and achieving great things. My daughter, getting a full scholarship to LSU. Those things bring me great joy. Likewise, same thing when it boils over to the ministry and seeing our people blessed, our lives are changed. Just doing ministry itself, because that's my passion. It gives me joy. I learned later on, though, that the first ministry is always home first. And so once that's good, everything else just flows, and that brings me joy.
I love that. So let's do some takeaways from today. So marriage is more than partnership. It's a divine remix of purpose, love, growth, ministry, and mentorship. So my remix tip of the week is my saying that I always say. I coined the phrase a decade ago. It's never too late to remix your life, but in this case, we're remixing our life, we're remixing our love, we're remixing ourselves so we can be the best version of ourselves for God and our purpose partners. I think that's so important. We're gonna have a part 2, y'all.
Looking forward to
a part 2. So yeah, the people in the comments say yeah. Yeah. So tell the people how they can get in contact with you all, however you want to get contacted with, because you might not want somebody knocking at your door, but you might want somebody to follow you on Instagram.
Well, I am. What is my Instagram?
Traveling Foodie.
Traveling Foodie on Instagram.
You gotta spell that out, though. TRAVELY or LN_ Foodie.
Okay, there you go.
That's Instagram.
That's partnership. That's partnership. Look at
that is. And Shakira Lovett on Facebook. But most importantly, we want you to come to church. We want you to come to Friendship Missionary Baptist Church in West Palm Beach, 718 3rd Street. You can follow us on those social media outlets, but the place that I want you to be is at our church.
Yeah. You can follow me at Jamian Lovett. That's JAMIAN. LOVETT on Facebook. I am J Lovett on Instagram, and Dr. Jamian Lovett on TikTok. Our website for our church is fmbcwpb.org. Friendship is the place to be. We say there's big ships, there's little ships, but there's no ship like friendship.
Yes.
Come on now. I love that. And if they're not in West Palm Beach, do you stream live?
Yes,
absolutely. You can follow us on all our platforms. That's on Facebook. It's Friendship of West Palm Beach, and it's the FMBC WPB on Instagram. You can follow Friendship of West Palm Beach on YouTube as well, and we live stream every single week. You can download our app at FMBC WPB, and you can find our Bible studies, our Sunday services, and everything that we do in our community on a weekly basis there as well.
I love that. Thank you so much for joining, everybody. Thank you so much for watching this episode. We're going to try to, I'll talk to them afterwards, and we'll see when we can do that. Maybe next week, maybe the week after. They're booked and busy and blessed. So we are definitely going to make part 2 happen. So as we close out today's episode, I want to remind you that marriage isn't just about wedding, the rings, or photos. It's a daily remix of choosing love, choosing peace, and choosing each other. Ministry isn't always on stage. It's how you treat one another when nobody is watching. As far as mentorship, that's the legacy you leave by living with intentionality and learning through every season, as we talked about. Whether you're married, preparing for marriage, or standing in a healing season by yourself, remember, it's never too late to remix your relationship, your mindset, or your mission. If this episode spoke to you, share it with somebody who needs to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, a comment, or connect with me for coaching and real talk that transforms. If you are just new to this podcast, definitely go on YouTube and check out some of the past episodes. If you're in a relationship or marriage, or married or single and would like to be a guest, connect with me as well. Until next time, I am Kendall Anish, your fave life coach, the Remix Coach, reminding you that love works, but it's worth the work. Keep remixing, keep rising, and keep giving God the glory. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having
And we
us.
still got comments and we ended. Wait a minute. Yes. It's my pleasure. So I'll get with Nicole. Hey, Nicole, thank you so much for the connect. We love Nicole, and we'll find out when you all can come back. God bless y'all. Peace. Thank you for watching.